Good afternoon. Today I want to talk to you about what to do if you see a fight in your school. I earlier had a video called Understanding Fighting, and fighting is unfortunately a pretty big thing that you see, especially in middle schools and in high schools. But I do believe that sometimes you also see this unfortunate behavior in elementary schools. If you've ever been on an airplane, you know that the flight attendants tell you that in case of emergency, you should put the oxygen mask on yourself first before putting your oxygen mask on someone beside of you who's unable to do it, like your child, for instance, or an elderly or disabled person who couldn't do it. And it's counterintuitive. It feels like that's the wrong thing to do. But uh, the same concept applies to fights. The first thing you have to do is to keep yourself safe. And I know that that's difficult. When I was teaching, I often would react without thinking, and I would really put myself in harm's way by doing that. And I don't suggest that at all. Instead, when you see students fighting, you should immediately go to the scene of the fight. Now, you'll know there's a fight going on because all the students will gather, and it's I guess must be some sort of human nature. All of them will be congregating in the hallway. All their attention will be there. You need to get to the area where the fight is. See where the fight is. Yell at some students to go and get assistance, and then yell at the students to stop fighting. Now, this is very important. Before you put yourself in the way of the fighting, you need to immediately command the students to stop fighting. Stop fighting now. You need to practice it and be ready. Stop fighting now. You're going to be upset. Your heart's going to be racing. So it's important to practice what you're going to say. I know you think that sounds silly, but I promise you it's not. So what you want to do next is once you've commanded them to stop fighting, continue to do that. Do not put yourself in harm's way. Do not physically get in there, because a couple of things. First of all, you could get hurt, and that can be pretty serious. I've seen careers that sadly ended because people physically got hurt and then couldn't work anymore, and then you are with at the mercy of disability and workman's comp, and that's not good. So you do have to consider yourself and your own family that you've got to care for. Um, these students, once you've commanded them to stop fighting, they are making a decision either to continue or to go on. And that is their decision. Whether you agree with it or whether or not you think it's a great decision is not really the question. Don't put your hands on the students. The other thing that can go wrong is that in that moment when you are, your adrenaline is going and you're excited yourself, you could actually hurt a student without any kind of intention. So you're grabbing the arm and you're all worried and upset. You're trying to start to fight. You might actually hurt a student, and that's not a good situation. Somebody needs to be going to get the principal or the resource officer or whoever in your building is designated in those situations. In the meantime, you're commanding the students to stop fighting. Now, I have found that most of the time, my command to stop fighting has been sufficient in getting the students to stop fighting. And once that's done, you separate them. Now, the reason they'll stop fighting is because oftentimes they've gotten caught in the situation. They're scared and they want out. And so my command for them to stop fighting is often all the encouragement they need to actually stop. They now have the excuse to stop. They can save face. Once they're separated, immediately get those two students away from each other as far away from each other as possible. One of them gets walked down to the principal's office in one direction. The others walk down to the principal's office in another direction. If there's only one direction, then you need to stagger them. They do not need to be anywhere near each other. When they're taken to the office, they need to be put into separate places because this will start up again. It's not important at this point to find out what started the fight. It is only important to do two things. Keep yourself safe, keep the students safe. And that is often hard to do. No one ever feels like they did it perfectly. So forgive yourself if things don't go perfectly because they're just not. Do your best, make your command, don't get hurt. Have a nice day.